Hey, it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Wednesday, December 21st. So welcome to the solstice day. Of course, we will have the sun moving out of Sag energy, moving into Capricorn energy at 4:48 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, that ushers in the solstice energy. If you haven't listened to December's energy forecast, if you haven't listened to Capricorn season, if you haven't listened to the solstice kind of ramble that I put out there, or haven't listened to this week's ascension forecast, you should probably do that. There is a lot more information. We do a deep dive into these energies, into this cycle, what this means for us. But basically, the solstice ushers in a brand new playing field for us to kind of level up into new timelines, new soul contracts, new life lessons. It is essentially, again, Capricorn season, solstice energy. When things slow down, we move into the quote unquote winter months as we enter into this last quarter of the calendar. Of course, the new astrological calendar begins in Aries season in the spring. So this is time for us to kind of retreat, for us to reflect, for us to regenerate ourselves, to realign with what it is that we want. And of course, Capricorn energy has us very focused on our long-term goals because it is the manifesting energy of the zodiac. And of course, the solstice brings a lot of magic. It is a day to celebrate. It is a day to honor our ancestors. It is a day to kind of move inward, become a little bit more introverted, get really in alignment with what it is that we are walking away from, what it is that we're closing the door on, to show the attitude of gratitude for the life lessons that we just went through, the lessons that they taught us, and of course have a whole lot of appreciation for this next chapter, this next shift, this next timeline, this next life experience that we are about to walk into. So the moon went void, of course, last evening, 9:45 p.m. The moon's still very much in Scorpio energy. We will shift into Sag energy at 2:13 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So anytime that we are moving out of Scorpio energy into Sag energy, there is a dramatic shift. Why? Because Scorpio energy is a little bit dark, a little bit heavy, hella intense, very transformative, very pressurized, and Sag energy is pretty much the light at the end of the tunnel. Just think of, having to go into the underworld, the shadow realm of our experiences in Scorpio energy, and then have this beautiful torch be lit at the end of a very long, dark tunnel. That is the Sag energy, and we're moving closer and closer to that Sag energy. And Sag energy being a fire energy really helps us out because it keeps the spark, the fire, the flame lit within us. It has us focused on the future. We have a new quest, a new adventure, a new truth that we are in pursuit of. And we are overly optimistic, highly confident, and really just prepared to kind of move on and move forward. What I love about this is that the moon moves into Sag energy, stays there for pretty much the bulk of the day, and then the sun moves out of Sag and moves into Capricorn energy, triggering the solstice. So it's almost like, you know what? We can't get rid of all of this Sag energy. We have to kind of emotionally stay a little bit hyped because the pressure, the weight of Capricorn season, of the solstice energy does feel a little heavy, does feel a little bit dark. It is, again, the shortest I'm going to say the shortest day of daylight and the longest night of nighttime that we get. That's what the solstice is all about. And, that's why we're in a very heavy weighted kind of reflective type of mood. So having the moon be in Sag energy for this dramatic shift in seasons and in chapters and in life lessons is very much a helpful light, a helpful support to us as we move through this transition. So the moon, still very much in Scorpio energy, but void, of course, which means that things are shaky, things are uncertain. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of doubts, there's a lot of insecurities, a lot of negativity in our narrative coming up for us when the moon is void in Scorpio energy. But nonetheless, we are going to semi-square Venus. Venus, of course, the goddess of love and beauty and worth and pleasure and money, who is in Capricorn energy. She is down to earth. She is thinking very logical and practical. She's trying to get down to the nitty-gritty on what it is that she needs to build and create for herself long term in order to feel safe and secure and stable and still enjoy life. So the semi-square is a little bit of a tension point, and right now we're again, kind of in this negative narrative that happens when the moon goes void and things get a little bit shaky and uncertain. Right now, we're questioning the long-term goals that we thought we had for ourselves. We're questioning what makes us happy. We're questioning who is making us happy. And we really do just have to kind of sit in the funk, if you will, in order to sit in the darkness, because that is where we see the light. The moon and the sun are going to make a very awkward interaction, which is likely going to show us in our physical realm where change is actually happening. Now, the moon in Scorpio was a very divinely scripted event here for these last couple of days, wrapping up this karmic chapter and preparing us to move into a new one. And the sun, of course, still very much in Sag energy, but at the final degrees of Sag, which is a critical or crisis point. It basically is an intensity for us to review and recollect all the life lessons that we were supposed to learn while in Sag season. You can go ahead, listen to that astro forecast if you need a little bit of a reminder. But basically, the moon is highlighting the past, what it is that we're moving away from. And being in Scorpio energy, we are moving away from some pretty fixed elements in our lives that have been around for a while in order to make a great transformation to help us evolve and move on. The sun in Sag energy is shining a bright light on our future, on the possibilities of it, trying to keep us hyped, trying to keep us optimistic and confident, what it is that we want to achieve, what it is that we want to pursue. But what we get left with is this awkward here and now present moment, giving us a little bit of time to reflect back and then project ourselves moving forward, and then to have the attitude of gratitude for this present moment, even as uncomfortable as it may be. Now, the moon is going to trine Jupiter. And Jupiter just moved into Aries energy here yesterday. If you haven't listened to that astro forecast, I'm going to recommend you do so, because we just entered into a brand new 12-year cycle. So you should get up on the energy game on what Jupiter is actually going to mean for us. So at 2:19 a.m., the moon will now be in Sag energy. Of course, we locked into that Sag energy at 2:13. So here we are just 6 minutes later, and the very first aspect that the moon in Sag is going to make is a trine, a beautiful energy with Jupiter, who just moved into Aries energy here yesterday. If you have to listen to that astro forecast in order to remind yourself on what it is that we're doing here in this Aries energy, definitely go ahead and do that. We are entering into a brand new 12-year cycle, so you definitely should be as informed as possible on how to set the tone for this next 12-year cycle. And the moon trining Jupiter, both in fire energies, you best believe that this is where we're going to get hyped up, where we're going to feel a huge surge of energy, where we're going to just kind of be our own cheerleaders. We're kind of ready for the change. We're ready to grow. We're ready to move forward. We're ready to improve. And although this energy does support us in making some great changes in our lives, we do have to kind of manage our energy, pace ourselves just a tad. I'm not saying that we're not going to see any forward movement, but it's going to be a very low and slow forward movement until we get into the new year, until Mercury and Mars come out of their retrogrades, go direct. That is really when we're going to hit the ground running. But we're feeling a lot of big feels right now, a lot of big dreams, a lot of big, just visions coming into our fruition right now. And, the moon being in Sag energy has us just feeling a high, and Jupiter magnifying this Aries energy just has us ready to kind of hit the ground running, to start a new chapter, to initiate a new beginning. There's a lot of energy there, and it feels really good. The moon is going to semi-square Mercury, though, which isn't the nicest vibe. This takes place, and this means that our heart and our head, not really on the same page. Of course, the moon in Sag is just hyped up, flying high. Just take a little bit of a time out to reflect back on a Sag season. And, the whole point of Sag season is to show us the light, show us the greater, grander picture, show us the truth, show us the past forward, show us the possibilities of the future. Well, all of that is really light and fluffy and really like imaginative and very hype in order to kind of sit in that vibe. Mercury, who rules over the mental plane, is in Capricorn energy. So we really don't have time for the fluff. We really don't have time to sit around and sit in la la land. What we want to do with Mercury being in Capricorn is be productive. We want to wrap up the loose ends of the past so that we can get on to conjuring up and manifesting elements of our future. We don't really want to sit in this la la land of what could be or what should be or whatever. We want to focus on what is. We want to make sure that we are kind of providing the kind of endings and closures to the past topics and situations that we're moving away from so that we have a clean slate to start kind of building the elements, the foundational elements that are needed in order to bridge the gap from where it is that we're at to where it is that we desire to be. At 4:48 p.m., we have the sun moving into Capricorn energy. And of course, the solstice is alive and well. Please go ahead, listen to those forecasts, become as informed as you possibly can on these particular energies, what this means for us, and of course, what cycle and season we are about to move into. The moon in Sag is going to make a positive interaction with Saturn. Saturn just took the throne. He is in his place of power because he rules over Capricorn season. So Saturn has a little bit more intensity coming at us right now. He still is an Aquarius energy, very visionary, very much thinking about the future, very much still focused on the boundaries needed in order to honor ourselves, but still kind of consider how our actions, how our moves are going to influence and impact the people around us. What I like about this is that it's a positive interaction between the moon and Saturn, which means that we're not going down the rabbit hole. We're not going to go down to a negative spiral in our inner dialogue. We're not going to feel pressurized and feel the weight of the roles and responsibilities on our lives. What we're going to do is be as positive and optimistic as we can possibly be, excited, if you will, to move forward, to level up, to boss up, to move into new soul contracts, to move into new karmic life lessons. This is a changing time. And so, in previous days, we kind of felt the weight of the world on our shoulders, knowing that we were making a shift, knowing we were making a great change. Well, now this particular energy, because of the moon and Sag, is kind of hyping us up, making us super excited, super positive to get this show on the road. Now, 7:51 p.m., the sun, fresh in this Capricorn energy, is going to square Jupiter. So what's interesting here is that, of course, the sun in the very beginning degrees of Capricorn, Jupiter in the very beginning degrees of Aries. This is what gives us our square. They are getting in the boxing ring. They are going to fight it out. Here's the issue. Jupiter, about growth, about expansion, about beliefs, about blessings, is in Aries energy, wanting to put the freaking gas pedal right down to the mat and even hit that nitro. We want to move forward. We want to take action. We want to be productive. We want to see the growth. We want to just move on. Now, the sun in Capricorn energy is like pumping the brakes, hitting that Jake brake, like, whoa, 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 whoa. We have to move forward at a slow and steady pace. Why? Because this Aries energy that Jupiter's sitting in would rather act first and think about the consequences later. And Capricorn energy is not about that at all. We are mature. We are pulling from our past experiences. We are stepping into our wisdom in Capricorn energy, and we know that low and slow is going to win the race. Yes, it may be fun to just take action and do things willy-nilly just for the sake of seeing change and for a little bit of excitement, but it's not going to last. There's not a strong enough foundation there to actually take that big leap, take that big move, make that big jump. So the sun in Capricorn is like, no. We got to slow the roll here. We have to think long term. We have to think strategic about the moves that we are going to make. And if you were listening over these last couple of days to the forecast and listening into the astro forecast about Jupiter, you would know that we have a great opportunity in the new year, pretty much mid-January, when Mercury goes direct, when Mars goes direct. And with that, we will see a huge leap forward. We will make up for lost time. But the sun in Capricorn right now just wants us to slow down, wants us to add the logic and practicality to our plans, wants us to be strategic in how it is that we're going to move forward, because we literally do not have the time to waste on just taking action and then having to come back and clean up the mess later. We have to do this right. We are entering into a 12-year cycle And the sun in Capricorn wants to make sure that we are setting the right kind of foundation down, a strong enough foundation for us to kind of start building on for this next 12-year cycle. So we are going to feel a little bit of a push and pull because the intensity gets magnified with Jupiter being in this fire energy. We just want to go, 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 go. And the sun is shining a bright light on where it is that we need to slow down, stay in this present moment, do what we can to build a very strong foundation underneath our feet so that when we're gifted with the green light go ahead, we know exactly what we're going to do with our time, with our energy, with our physical actions, and we're going to do it right. The moon in Sag is going to sit across from Mars, who is retrograde in this Gemini energy. Now, this is a lot of confusion, I would say, a lot of aggravation, a little bit of frustration, again, feeding off of this earlier aspect of the sun squaring Jupiter. We have the moon in Sag, super hopeful, super optimistic, really wanting to kind of just take action, make moves, move forward. Mars would love to do that, but Mars is retrograde, so he has to kind of like sit within himself, and he's in Gemini energy, so he's all up in the mental plane. He's in the intellectual battlefield of trying to weigh the pros and cons. And what we know to be true is that the Sag and Gemini axis, because they sit across from each other in the zodiac, is about information and beliefs. So we are constantly being bombarded with information, with details, with situations changing that are, technically speaking, changing the way that we project ourselves into the future, our plans for the future, the belief system that we have and what is possible for the future. And although this opposition can kind of feel a little bit gross, a little bit yucky, and trigger those not so nice feelings, it is absolutely needed in order to actually refine the direction, the focus, our thoughts, our ideas, our plans in being able to move forward. The moon is going to trine Chiron. This is a beautiful energy. We get some fire on fire action. And what we get here is a renewal of faith, a renewal of energies, a renewal of trust. We've seen where it is that we've gone through some hardships and how it has made us kind of stronger. We are looking at our wounds from a different set of eyes. We are recognizing a brand new truth within ourselves. We are recognizing that we are moving into a space where we can literally recreate ourselves and our egoic identity. And this is a beautiful thing because keep in mind that Chiron is about to go direct here in a couple of days, right before we have the new moon in Capricorn, which means that we are going to be able to take action and put ourselves out there in ways that we've been fearful to do over the last 5 months. The moon semi-squares Pluto, which isn't the nicest vibe. What we're getting here is a little bit of hesitancy, I would say, in order to see where the inner transformation is not aligning with the outer transformation. What I mean by that is that energetically speaking, we just shifted into a brand new chapter. And the moon in Sag, as positive, as lighthearted, as playful, as excited as we want to be, Pluto brings in this seriousness. Pluto brings in this I'm going to say heaviness, this weight, because transforming is not so easy. It is not as easy as we would like to think. And sometimes just when we think that our inner realm is prepared to make big decisions and big choices and big life moves, when we actually get in the physical situation to do that, we start questioning whether or not we are walking the right path. And this can kind of bring up a little bit of a negative narrative, a little bit of fears, a little bit of doubts, a little bit of insecurities. But I think that that's a natural process as we shift into a brand new season, a brand new cycle. We're really starting to question our direction. We're starting to question whether or not we should have pushed ourselves to make these big kinds of changes. And of course, now that we're in the midst of it, we're really just questioning how it is that we think and feel about it. The moon will bump into the true node in such a way that is going to suggest that, guess what? Growth is happening. Movement is happening. Transformation is happening. We are essentially, whether we feel prepared for it or not, we are essentially moving forward. We see the path that we want to pursue. We, although kind of got caught up in our thoughts and our feelings and tried to talk ourselves out of it, we are prepared now to do what we need to do in order to move forward. Now, the Sag energy is very adventurous. We recognize in the Sag energy that sometimes putting ourselves out there and moving into foreign territory can be exciting. It can be hella scary too, because we don't know what to expect, but it can be super exciting. And especially seeing as many of us have grown very tired of sitting in the funk, sitting in the weight, sitting in the pain of some of the spiritual lessons that got put on us, mostly because Jupiter was in Pisces, we're definitely more willing now to throw caution to the wind and to move into an unfamiliar situation, because we know what we're going to get if we continue to stay where it is that we're at. Do not know what we are going to get in this new foreign land, this new foreign physical environment of ours. So there's a lot of anticipation. There's a lot of change. There's a lot of back and forth in our dialogue between hyping ourselves up and being absolutely terrified. And sometimes what I will leave you with is sometimes when you are scared to do something, it means that it is the right thing to do. And sometimes the fear doesn't go away. Sometimes you just have to do what you know you're being called to do, regardless whether or not you're terrified and whether or not you actually feel like you are prepared to make this move. Sometimes the strongest thing that you can do is take those steps forward, even while you're standing in your greatest fears.